Oh, mine's not really expired. If yours is expired, then
Good evening. We'd like to welcome everyone this evening to the Richmond Planning and Zoning meeting. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner DeGrant,
Here.
Commissioner Francis, Commissioner Short,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Perkins,
Here.
Commissioner Miles,
Here.
Commissioner Estelle.
Here. Next on the agenda is the approval of the January 21st, 2026 minutes. If you've had time and have looked over those, I'd like to get a motion on those, please.
I don't think I was here.
Make a motion, we approve the January 21st, 2026 minutes.
I second.
Commissioner DeGrant,
Yes.
Commissioner Francis, Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Estelle.
Yes. Next on the agenda is a request for zone map amendment for property located at 1055 Rear Road, proposed zone change from UC-7 to B-3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Preston Worley on behalf of the applicant, and I'd like to start, Ms. Perkins, you told me once that I always bring hard ones for discussion, and I'm hoping that I have finally found an easy one.
I'm so glad, I'm so proud of you.
So the property there, you can see, is there any way to put the zoning overlay on it? I think that tells the story the best. So that piece of property is somehow inexplicably still in the county. While it's surrounded by city property that is all Zone B3. The Board of Commissioners recently gave passed second reading on their notice of intent to or their intent to annex, and then to refer it to you all for a zone recommendation. The applicant, the property owner, through their potential purchaser, Payne Homes, wants to zone that B3. As is everything around it. There's a small office building there. They'd like to improve and move their office there. So just for the record, I think it being agriculture after being brought into the county and the standard for annexation is developable and urban in nature. So county agriculture is inappropriate given that it's city and urban now, and the existing zoning that all surrounds it would be more appropriate. So that's my spiel. I open it up for any questions, but we appreciate your consideration. But I think now that with the intent to bring it into the city, the zoning that exists around and would accommodate the existing use is appropriate.
Well, it's been there for a long time.
That's been a chiropractic office, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was on Bourbon Road.
Any more questions on that? Can I get a motion on there, please?
Public hearing.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. This is a public hearing. Does anyone have that's against it, or anyone that wants to speak for it? If not, might I get a motion on this, please?
I'll make a motion that we accept the amendment for the property located at 1055 Breer Road, proposed zone change from UC7 to B3.
And I'll second that with also adding that we approve the findings of fact.
Yep.
Commissioner DeGrant,
Yes.
Commissioner Francis, Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
I hate to be a pushover, but okay. Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Estelle.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is text amendment for ordinance number 24-02 pertaining to a short-term rentals.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll take this one. What we've included in your packets is the entire STR ordinance, but be aware that up front and foremost, where they are located is highlighted in red. That is the addition and only addition to the STR ordinance. So it will say, in addition, there shall be allowed within the PUD zone those areas indicated by underlying use as R1A, R1B, R1C, upon review and approval by the director. I will add that the director is in the definitions at the beginning of the document. We added that in because it will have to be reviewed and approved because the underlying zones aren't always precedent on the plats, but with the approval of the director, we can assure that those are underlying zones that is permissible.
You got, well, those are packets? Was that,
Yes.
okay. I know didn't see one, I didn't know. Okay. Got any questions?
Would you
No,
like to
it's-
see this one?
Okay. Any questions?
Not really, you all talked about this January, didn't you?
Yes, it's been.
I wasn't here, so I'll just stay out of it.
It was brought forth by a resident there, and just for discussion. And so through that discussion, it was an approval by this board to look at this and do a text amendment. So what I'm bringing to you tonight is that text amendment. So it was only a recommendation if we do that.
So does this go for all PUDs? They can
Yes.
all have short-term rental?
Only the residential aspect of a PUD. Now, within a PUD, you'll have commercial uses as well. You'll have multifamily, apartments, R2s, duplexes. This will only apply to the single-family uses within a PUD, not any of the other structures.
Okay, and you treat it just like you do any of the short-term?
Yeah.
Yes, every other requirement for a short-term distancing, all the inspections, the renewal process, everything applies.
I got a question because obviously condos can be put in a PUD. And if we do a condo and a rent out, then we actually, if you read the next paragraph, that's within 500 feet. If one wanted to do next door, next door, next door, that kind of prevents that. Do we have any terminology that we want to change there? Just curious. Or not? Because that kind of affects that.
I think we went over this with the commission and they wanted 500 feet.
Yep. I think what you're saying,
Yes.
Mr. DeGrand, is that they can be connected. The thing that will differentiate that is that's typically in a multifamily situation, which R3s, STRs are not allowed in R3s. It could also put you in an R2 situation that's allowed, but R2s are not allowed either. So a condominium setting or an apartment setting, they're already denied. It's an inappropriate zone. So that issue would present itself. If they applied, they would automatically fail due to them not being in the correct zone.
Would we want to limit the ability to do that with a PUD zone, per se? Just curious.
Well,
Understand what I mean there?
may elaborate just a little.
So if we had somebody come in with major development with condos, and then we're having a lot of more, like, what do you call them, like where they group up, they do kind of like what Hamburg did in a way, where they do like grocery stores, all types of shopping centers, and then you have those condominium units that are basically going straight up. And if we were wanting to do something like an entertainment district inside of the PUD, it kind of eliminates a lot of the benefits there. So that's kind of where I'm going on the elaboration. Is that something that we want to discuss? That's why I'm asking for this specific, because it is a PUD. We are talking about PUDs.
I'm looking at it in the development standpoint is if they turn in a development plan with that aspect, I would have to associate that with loft apartments and things of that nature, which also only apply to B2s and some B3s for basement apartments, which are also listed in our manual as conditional uses. And so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yep, B1 and B2s here are also listed as conditional uses. So either way, that's headed to the Board of Adjustments. And it's a good question, and working my way through this, it actually is a catch-all. So it would have to be approved by the Board of Adjustments.
Just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Get a motion.
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve the text amendment for ordinance number 24-02 pertaining to the short-term rentals.
Second it.
Commissioner DeGrant,
Yes.
Commissioner Francis, Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. Commissioner Estelle, I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
I was like,
He had those 3 pens ready.
Okay, next on the agenda is comprehensive plan presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bronte Merle, and I'm with Taylor Siefker Williams Design Group, one of the 2 consulting firms that have been working on the update to the comprehensive plan. I'm also joined here today with Megan Hogan from Bell Engineering. What I would like to do is just spend the next 15 minutes or so and talk you all through some of the updates we've been working on over this last year. I know some members of the Planning Commission were able to come out when we spoke with the city commissioners back in August. And so I think a lot of you all are aware of the process we've been going through and have hopefully had a chance to review the document as well. What I would like to do is really walk you all through just some high-level highlights from the engagement process and the overall planning process, and then talk through some of the major changes that we've made in the document. Oh, yeah, I have the clicker. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of background, so the state really requires a few main things out of a comprehensive plan, and I just want to call these out real quick. The first one is a statement of goals and objectives that really serve as the guide for physical development, economic, and social well-being of a community. The next component that's really required by state code is a land use plan that really shows the most appropriate styles of development, patterns of development across the community. The next is a transportation plan that really outlines the intended projects and planned routes throughout the community as well. And then there's a community facilities element that always needs to be included, as well as, really accommodating any local military installations. Those are the 5 main things that the state code really requires out of a comprehensive plan, and obviously it can go far beyond that with the different topics that are addressed, as Richmond's Vision 2040 does. Within the plan, we've really updated 5 main components where you'll see the most substantial changes. The first one would be the vision statement, which we'll talk through here in a few minutes. The next one would be the goals and objectives. Then the action steps, which are in the implementation plan, and then your future land use plan and your future transportation plan. So I will try to stay at a high level, but talk through these 5 elements. The bit that I'm going to dig into the most here is going to be that future land use plan, because that's the piece that you guys are going to be using the most as far as guiding things like rezoning decisions. So just want to make sure you all feel good about what's in that section of the plan. So just to talk through a little bit of the process. So in phase 1, and we really kicked things off about this time last year, we started with data collection and analysis, getting to know where Richmond has really been in the last 5 years since we last did an update. We formed a steering committee of staff and local community members, people representing different agencies and organizations who have really helped guide this process. We held a public workshop and an online survey. Then during phase 2, we came in and we developed some draft goals and objectives, really revising the ones that you already have. We brought those to the steering committee to review those. Our committee made more edits to those. And we did the same kind of process for the action steps and other plan elements, being able to draft these based off of community input and having the steering committee come back and revise those and really make sure that they reflect the future direction for Richmond. And then we had our second public workshop also at the Millstone Festival. So I had a nice big display up there, and people were able to, while they were at the festival, come by and provide comment on a lot of the draft ideas that are in the plan. And then phase 3, which is where we are now, is really where we put together that final draft document, had our final steering committee meeting, and then into the adoption process where we're at now. So that's been really the last year of work on this project. I do want to call out a few highlights from the community engagement process, specifically some of the results that we have from the online survey. So we had 350 people take the online survey. We asked them about a lot of things, but some of the big things we really want to know is the types of development they want to see, issues that they're seeing, ideas that they have for the community. So when we asked people about the most needed transportation improvements, the top one there was reducing congestion, which I'm sure you all are not surprised about. We've heard that a lot in the process. But also roadway maintenance and sidewalk and pedestrian amenities were top issues as well. When we asked people about the types of development needed in Richmond, the top one here was retail and dining, followed by entertainment, open and natural space, parks and recreation, and community facilities. And then when we asked people about the types of housing that are needed, single-family homes was our top one here, followed by senior housing, townhomes, granny flats, and condominiums. I pulled out a few quotes that I think really highlight a lot of the main things we heard from people, which is that more single-family homes are definitely needed, but really needing to have a connected sidewalk system with that so people can get from point A to point B. People also talked about the need for solutions to a lot of the traffic issues going on, especially as growth continues. And then we heard a lot about pedestrian friendliness and really making more trails, sidewalks, bike routes, whatever those are, the need for those pedestrian connections. So that's the main gist of what we heard, but if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer those on the engagement process. What I would like to do is talk through really the updates and changes in the document itself. So what I've done is here on the left side of the screen has each of the chapter names for the document. I'm just going to pull out some highlights from some of these chapters, but just wanted you to be able to see what chapter it's coming from so you can reference back if you like. So in the first chapter, we didn't change a lot here in the introduction. This is really just setting the stage, but we did add in a few new pages to really show highlights from the engagement process and highlights from the existing conditions report. So since the last update, what are those major demographic shifts, things to call out so that people don't have to go dig through the appendix to see some of these highlights. So we've included those there, so that's just an example of those demographics that we've pulled out there. And then the next thing I want to call out is the vision statement. So up on the screen right now is your all's current adopted, yes?
Yes, on the last slide, you put that the vacancy rate was 8.9%.
Yes.
Is that in apartments? Is that in housing?
So that would be all housing. And I'll also note that the reason it's probably high is you guys have had a lot of recent growth. And with that, newly built homes that have not been sold and occupied yet will count towards your vacancy rate the way the U.S. Census collects them. So that's likely what's affecting.
So this is for homes?
Yes, just for homes,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
So just to go back to the vision statement. So what you all currently had, and I won't read the whole thing, but really calls out the importance of a vibrant quality of life, diverse gathering spaces, thriving commerce, strong employment, focusing and celebrating the history and cultural assets of the community, and fostering sustainable growth. These are some of the big things that came out of that original vision statement. All we've done with the steering committee is tried to refine it a bit more so that it's a little bit shorter, so that if anyone picks this up, they, within like 2 sentences, have a very clear idea of what Richmond's vision for the future is. So with that, we updated it. Now it says Richmond is a vibrant, welcoming, and safe community with a distinctive character, celebrated history, and high-quality public safety services. Richmond offers thriving businesses, strong educational opportunities, and diverse recreational amenities by supporting responsible growth that meets the needs of its neighborhoods. And so that is the updated vision statement. We did go through the goals. We only actually made one edit in the goal statements, and that is in number 5, and you can see it marked out in red. And it's just saying that we were a little bit more clear on what we meant by sustainable, so really advocating for planned and responsible growth. That's the only change that we've made there. We did make more edits to the objectives. I'm not going to walk through them as much in detail tonight, just because it'll take a very long time. You probably don't want me talking at you for, another 15 minutes. But if you guys have questions about any of the edits to the objectives after you've already read through, just let me know, and I'm happy to answer those questions. Like I said before, the thing I really want to spend the most time on is the land use piece. And so your future land use plan is really composed of a map, which is your future land use map, and then supporting text that kind of tells you how to use the map. One of the things that we really parsed out in a lot of conversations was that there was some confusion amongst residents and committee members about the difference between zoning, land use, and future land use, which, not surprising, it's complicated, and how all these things work together can, get a little confusing sometimes. So what we did in the very start of this chapter was go ahead and define for people what the existing land use map, so that's a map that shows people how the land is being used today. We then defined what zoning is, so your zoning map, which is not in the plan but online, is the current legal guidance for what a property is allowed to have on it and how it's allowed to be developed. And then we went through and said, okay, so with that, your future land use is then telling us how the community really wants to see that land used in the future. And it's not contradicting zoning, but is rather there as your second layer as you make zoning decisions. It's there to help you make those decisions. So it's more of that forward-thinking, 20-year vision on what that land can do. So that's how we started the chapter, and then we came in and updated the land use plans themselves. So on one side here, you have your current land use map, and then we have the updated proposed future land use map. And I just want to call out a few differences. The first one is you're going to see some more residential categories in the new one, so we break it out a little bit more, saying we've got single family, high density residential, mixed density residential, and then we've also got that mixed use category, which you already had. But what we've also done in here is created a downtown section. So instead of having individual properties in downtown assigned to this one's commercial, this one's residential, et cetera, you now have one downtown district where you say this is the type of development that's appropriate in downtown in general. So that makes it a little less complicated on some of those future land use decisions. We also, in areas that are not within the city boundary, but you guys know are likely to grow and potentially become in the city boundary in the next several years, instead of assigning those land uses like you did on the previous map, we've just identified general growth areas so as not to be too prescriptive on land that's currently part of the county. Those are the major changes on the future land use map, and then with it is the supporting text. And what I do want to walk you through there are the compliance checklists. So some of the conversations we had really found that people felt like they wanted a little bit more support in understanding how some of these land use decisions are made and really how to use the comprehensive plan in land use decisions. So with that, we created a series of compliance checklists. And really, for any property, you're going to be looking at two different checklists. The first one is really for all properties in the county. So if I come and I want to rezone my property, what are some of the basic standards I need to meet so that it will be a successful redevelopment of that property? And then there's going to be a separate checklist depending on the land use you're proposing it should be. So I'm going to walk you through a scenario on how we use these. So there we go. So if someone comes in, and for this scenario, I've chosen a rezoning for a townhome development, essentially. So you can see on the map, I've just put up here Barn Hill Road. I've just randomly selected a property, really one right now you can see it on the future land use map. it shows as what would be single-family residential, but it's near maybe more that high-density residential. So it's still in that single-family area. So you have someone come in and they want to rezone the property, maybe to, let's say, R3 from R1, because what's currently zoned at does not allow them to do the level and intensity of townhomes that they want to be able to do. So once you get that, you then have two checklists that you go through. The first one is that citywide development criteria. And you'll follow really these points to help inform your decision. If something is not consistent with something on this list, that doesn't mean it's a hard and fast, absolutely not, we're not going to approve it, but this just gives you the background to really help make those decisions and some of the things to think about. So for example, skip forward a page. So the first one on here on checklist 1 is environmental criteria. So some of the things you might consider is the development within the floodplain? And if so, have they taken reasonable measures to ensure the longevity and safety of that development? We're also thinking about environmental features. So if there's, substantial wildlife habitats, a stream, how are those being factored into the site? Also looking at stormwater management, and then any public water resources. So just on a really high level, these are some of those things that you guys can be thinking about. And then we go to the next one. So on checklist 1, you go to the next category, which is utilities and service criteria. So here, you're gonna be asking yourselves, does this new development align with the infrastructure that can sufficiently serve it? So, are there appropriate water, sewer, gas infrastructure to really service the type of development that's being proposed on this property? And then when feasible, utilities should be located underground. So is that reasonable and feasible for this property? And if so, are they doing it? And then the third one here is police, fire, emergency responders, schools, all of these important resources. Is this proposed development going to, really max out those resources, or, do we have enough schools in the area to really serve this, a new subdivision that comes on, for example? So those are all things that can be discussed and considered through that process. And then the last one sorry, let me take that back. I've got a couple more things on checklist 1. So the next one here is access and transportation criteria. So similar to utilities and services, so is the traffic generated going to be an unnecessary burden on surrounding road networks? So considering that, if it's, does it have access to a public road that meets the city's minimum design requirements for that type of development? And then if it's a larger development, really thinking about the number of access points onto public roads. So if it's a smaller development, you really want to limit those. But if you've got someone coming in, say, with like a 200-home subdivision, right, you need those multiple access points. So just making sure that those number of access points are appropriate for the development. All right. So I'm going to keep going. So character and compatibility criteria. So this would be the next one here. So new development really should meet all existing land use and subdivision requirements and regulations. Is the development really compatible with the surrounding areas in terms of land use, noise, light encroachment, and similar impacts? And then we also ask you to consider hazardous materials and where they're located in terms of if it's next to a residential property or densely developed areas. And then the last couple things under character and compatibility criteria, so thinking about adequate buffers and transitions in scale and density. So if you've come in with a new commercial development right next to an existing neighborhood, is there potential for, say, landscaping buffer or something similar to help create that kind of buffer depending on the intensity of that development? So just some of those things there. So infill that is compatible with surrounding development should be prioritized and encouraged. And then new developments that exceed density standards should be considered for planned unit development. So that's everything in checklist 1. After checklist 1, if it meets all that criteria, if you guys agree that it meets those criteria, then you move on to checklist 2. So in this scenario, you're really looking at single-family residential. as the land use area. And so for single-family residential, we really have 3 intended types of uses within that kind of area. So the first one would be single-family detached and attached dwellings. So this could be a single-family home, this could be townhomes. Now, I want to go ahead and point out that your areas on your future land use map are not one-for-one correlations with your zoning map. They are intended to be broader areas, so where, on your zoning map, you might have a few areas that are, you've got, R1, 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 and then you've got an R3 property next to it. That might all be the same within your future land use plan, and the idea with that is to give you all a little bit more discretion to think about what's appropriate in those areas, to be a little bit more broad, so, as we come 10 years down the line, that definition for what is appropriate there could change, and so you guys have that discretion to make some of those decisions. So with that, so the first one here, like I said, was single-family detached dwellings and attached dwellings. The next one is public or semi-public uses, so small-scale semi-public uses like schools, community centers, parks, and churches could be appropriate within that larger single-family area. And then we've also added in here some of those neighborhood scale services, and the emphasis here is on neighborhood scale. So being able to have a small corner store, maybe your daycare, maybe individual offices, so not an office building, but an individual office. As we go through this, we're going to go through the checklist a little bit more. There is specific language in here to help make sure that the neighborhood scale services, say, aren't plopped in the middle of a single-family neighborhood, but more are sitting on the edge of it, so that they're providing that kind of transition in services. Just pointing that out as we get further into it. So, as we get to checklist number 2, the first one here is access and transportation criteria. So, large subdivisions with more than 100 lots should provide 2 or more access points, as we talked about before. Individual residential lots should have direct access onto an internal road. You're thinking about multimodal connectivity between subdivisions. So if it's a large subdivision that's being proposed, is it providing some of that pedestrian connectivity that residents really seem to want? And then also large subdivisions really should incorporate those sidewalks and multi-use paths. So again, providing some of that guidance. There are a few more things under access and transportation criteria. So any public or semi-public use or neighborhood scale service should really have direct access to a collector or arterial road, not require customers to use any internal subdivision streets, or limit curb cuts or access points onto public roads. And then the last one here is, again, provide sidewalk and or multi-use path connections to adjacent neighborhoods. So then it goes on a little bit more. We're almost there. And so the last bit here on the land use is the character and compatibility. So on single-family residential, if you're going to be in this area, parks or open space should be provided as an amenity within larger developments. Residential areas should be buffered from non-compatible land uses, such as industrial areas. A transition in housing density should be provided between single-family and multifamily housing. So if you've got, your duplex, your townhome, maybe your small-scale apartment coming in, it's really not appropriate in the middle of that single-family neighborhood. It's appropriate towards the edges, adjacent to a commercial use that's really serving as a buffer transition area between development. And then any public or semi-public use or neighborhood service use should have a scale, massing, and appearance that generally reflects or complements the surrounding residential area. So there's a lot in here to help guide some of that decision-making. I just walked through one example, but as you go and you consider other types of rezonings, right, you're not going to use a single-family residential list. You're going to come in here, and there's another list for, say, an industrial area or for your downtown area, mixed-use area, whatever it is. So that's just a quick look at that. I say quick, but that wasn't that quick. But what I do want to do is just very quickly talk through the transportation plan and some of the updates there. So with the updated transportation map, we really included a few main things. The first one is making sure that everything in the KYTC 6-year plan that applies to the Richmond area is included in that. So these are projects that are already planned to be funded. And those are highlighted in a separate color on the map, so you can see those. The next is a set of city planned road projects. So these are already projects that the city has already had at least targeted to go for. And so these are ones that we've added to the map as well. And then the third one would be the planned trail network. And so these are the trail systems that are very consistent with what's already in this trails plan that's being developed. And so this is just really reflecting that. So those are the three main updates that we've made with the transportation plan. The last bit that I want to cover here is the implementation section. And I'm going to stay I'm not going to dig into all the weeds with this, but I do just want to talk through your action steps and specifically those high priority ones, the ones that are going to be worked on really in the next 5 years. And we won't go through the other ones in detail. So your action steps are really those actionable pieces that are going to support those larger goals and objectives. So as you go through, there are really 4 different types of action steps. The first one are ongoing action steps. So those are the ones that are going to be regular maintenance. You perform them every year, every couple of years. The next one are going to be high priority action steps. So these are ones that are done the next 1 to 5 years. Your moderate priority action steps are in the next 6 to 10 years. And then your low priority action steps are in the next 11 to 20 years. So as you get into the tables, you'll see an action step listed. You'll see the goals that it applies to. So what are the goals that it is directly supporting? You will see a list of the partners. So what are the agencies, organizations, departments that are going to help get this action step accomplished? And then what are some of those tools and resources that are available? So this is the same setup as your existing document is. It's really just adding some new action steps, getting rid of the ones that you guys already completed, you checked off, and then revising some of them to reflect your all's new goals. So with that, I just wanted to cover just the high priority action steps. So the first one is to review existing land use regulations and subdivision regulations to rectify deficiencies, changes in case law, and align with the comprehensive plan. The second one is to consider developing an economic resiliency plan that would identify strategies to withstand economic downturn. The third is to install placemaking, aesthetic, and minor infrastructure improvements downtown specifically. Number 4 is to create and maintain a long-range transportation plan for roadway and sidewalk upgrades. Number 5 is to coordinate with Madison County and the city of Berea on the creation of new trails linking Richmond to regional destinations. And that one's already in the works with the trails plan. Number 6 is to identify locations for new emergency services, which will extend coverage to new developments occurring on the northern and southern edges of the city. And then this is the last slide on the action steps. Number 7 is to promote properties that are suitable for infill development or redevelopment and are located in areas currently serviced by the city's roadway and utility infrastructure. Number 8 is to develop, codify, and implement a complete streets policy to guide the design of public and private roads. Number 9 is to develop and maintain an updated trails master plan to guide future trail projects. So you guys are also already working on that one. Good job. Number 10 is to partner with EKU on road capacity improvements on Lancaster Avenue and Kit Carson Drive as the new model lab school is developed. 11 is to create and promote an economic incentive package that the city can offer to large and small businesses. And then number 12 is to work with the state and county to improve Goggins Lane and Tates Creek Road to ensure both roadways can support the new traffic generated by the Richmond Regional Sports Complex and Park. So those are the really 12 things for the next 5 years. Always want to preface, well not preface this, but always really want to point out a few things, which is that a comprehensive plan is very much a guiding document. By adopting this is not a hard and fast commitment that action item number 9 is going to happen in the next 5 years, right? Because we all know that plans shift. Something could happen in the next year and your priorities need to change, right? So this is very much a guiding document. It's not that hard and fast commitment to make every single thing in here happen. With that, that's everything I've got to share with you all. So I'm happy to take any questions that you all have about the plan or any comments on the draft.
I've got one you went to, I think it was on the first one. you were talking about sidewalks. The city's in the process now of upgrading the sidewalks. Rob, is that,
That is correct. We have a current plan where we would identify the 5 sections of the city as a whole. We've gone through each one of those sections and we prioritize sidewalk projects. So every year we'll appropriate money to move forward in those high priority areas to fix the sidewalks. Most people don't realize our current ordinance requires property owners to repair their sidewalks in front of their house or business. But because we have so many sidewalks in disrepair, we've taken the initiative to do that ourselves. So it's not gonna happen overnight, and there'll be sidewalks to fix 50 years from now, but we're making progress.
another one, and we've had this to come up in a annexation zone change, like, the public has always questioned about schools. I understand it, but we don't have control over, where to build schools or when to build them. And I've seen you had that on there, so, about developing.
Yeah, we deal with this in other communities as well, and everyone's got a different way of approaching it. We have communities that if it doesn't line up with what the school's capacity is, they will reconsider the development plan, absolutely. We have other communities where they have it more set up where they might have a letter sent to the school systems to say, hey, we've got a new development coming on. It's this many households. We want you to be aware of it. And other communities where they actually use that letter as more of an opportunity to have the school provide a voice on what should happen. So there are different ways of handling that, but yes, it's definitely a consideration.
I know that in the past, where they built a school on Boonesboro out there, they did see the growth out on the northern end. And that's where they did place that school out there on that. And of course, they saw that themselves on it.
But to your point, Mr. Chairman, I mean, most people don't understand that entities like Eastern Kentucky University or our school system are state entities. So they really don't have to ask for the city or county's permission for what they build.
No.
If they tear down a house on their property, they don't have to pull a demo permit. If they build a new school, they don't have to run the plans to our local building code.
Yes, I'm saying.
So most people don't understand that when something happens like that out of the ordinary, which we get blamed for it, but we have to explain ourselves if we really don't have.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to explain to them before but we don't have, the city don't have any control over that.
That's correct.
And even with the utilities, just take for instance, on the Robert R. Martin bypass going towards the interstate, I don't know how far the utilities would go out there, but I think they'll go some distance out there. He's talking about developing in that. So I think the city has grown, to where they can, just tie into it. Utilities are there for them.
The planning that Richmond Utilities did 10, 15 years ago for infrastructure for water and sewer, that's positioned us now where we can provide those services to those areas you're talking about. The Robert Martin bypass just past Toyota becomes all county. From there to the interstate, which really, we've got utilities run right up to those properties ready to go. So those are future growth areas that wouldn't impact traffic as bad as in some other places like Goggins and Barnesville Road.
And even where Buc-ee's is at, I think when they done that years back, they could support anything that was out there. And in fact, Berea, when they was having problem with water, they wanted to tap into Richmond's reserve for the water because Richmond could all out on Duncan and out there. So utilities it's there for them, But, I was just questioning just that right there. I didn't know how much, if it'd be a change on that or not.
Yeah, I think we can definitely adjust the text there on that to just loosen up the language. I think one of the things that we were hearing a lot from the community was the need to at least consider those things. So I think it's still important to have something in there to say, we got to talk about it, we got to think about it, but not say if it, we're avoiding language that says, if it doesn't serve this many new cars on the street, don't approve
Yeah.
it, right?
And I'm pretty sure if there's any more development in that area on both of them, they would have to add on to it, go a different route. But right now, I think that they'd be able to handle,
Yeah.
for industries or anything that would come out in through that area there.
Mr. Chairman, I will tell you that we did include the county planning and zoning director and also the Berea planning and zoning director as stakeholders in this whole process. And I've asked him to do the same because I think it's important for those individuals to be part of the overlapping information between the cities and the county.
Does the comprehensive plan show where we want the expansion of the city, how far out to reach?
And so that's what, I can go back actually to the future land use plan. That's what it does with some of those future growth areas, is identifies those targeted areas for growth. We're gonna keep going, it's a lot of slides. My goodness. There we go. Okay, so the one on the left of the screen, not the one on the right of the screen. The one on the right of the screen is your current adopted plan. So you can see anywhere that's got the black hatches are some of those growth areas.
Okay.
It's a little hard to see, so
Yeah.
the black outline and it's kind of got it.
Yeah, it's hatched, it's lined, but from here, yes, gray. Yes, definitely.
I know this is kind of a short term, but do we ever think about preserving farmland at some point in the future? So, we just don't grow into, well, the Kentucky River is where our stopping point would be.
Yeah, and I think that's all about, like Rob was saying, it's that coordination with the county as well. But I think different communities have different priorities. And I don't think that the, agricultural preservation of like these specific areas
Right,
was as
that's-
much of a conversation.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
We don't have a whole lot of green there, agriculture, open space.
Yeah, we eliminated that when we were going through it. A lot of the gray area was so we could decide, like in the zoning area. So instead of making it more complicated, it's just there. And then if they want to bring it in and ask as ag or whatever, they could. So it gave us a little bit more leeway on approving the development. That's why we did it that way.
Ask this question, you might be able to say yes or say no. But as far as on a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan for roads, where do we stand at?
As far as the KYTC, like 6-year plan, yeah, let me flip through.
Because we get hit hard with that when, on the plan and zoning, whenever there's a development there. And I mean, it's most rightly so, but, it's just,
I would say, yeah, so I can list out the projects for you. So the first one is to construct the new I-75 interchange between Berea and Richmond. It's the first one on there. The next one is the proposed roadway improvements for it's from Duncannon Road to Madison County Airport on, I'm not sure the exact road name, but I've got it right here. Okay, and then number 3 is to extend Boggs Lane to connect to Pavilion Way. That's the third one. Number 4 here is a small urban area study to evaluate potential improvements and land access opportunities on Goggins Lane, Tate's Creek, Crutcher Park, and Barnes Mill Road. And then it says with improvements on Barnes Mill Road, including the length from Crutcher Parkway to the interstate. And then we've got improved capacity on Barnes Mill Road between Goggins Lane and the I-75 interchange. And then we've got new construction modifications of the I-75 exit 87 interchange. And that's referenced in the West Richmond small urban area study. And then the last one here is to relieve congestion and safety improvements on Goggins Lane between KY 169 and US 25 at Victory Drive.
That was that time frame that you were talking about.
These are the 6-year plan, yes, 6 years. Yep.
So when addresses are changed, I know you don't have another bother, but my family has a farm, which used to be 200 Paytontown Road. They
Okay,
changed it to 1200 Duncannon Lane. But you put it in GPS, it doesn't take you there. It takes you to past the interstate and stops. So everything she orders goes back, because they can't find it. Yeah, we need to have that checked out. That's ridiculous.
Did you talk to her afterwards and maybe get a GIS study to help her with that?
Absolutely.
And I put it in my GPS just to see why none of those packages are coming there. She has to put them at my address. So when I put it in the GPS, it takes me right past the interstate where they park at or whatever. It's just an empty lane. That's as far as it goes. So they need to get the land, if they're gonna change something, they need to change it where it's in the system, where packages or different places to direct people the right way.
Or 911.
Yeah,
Just like-
it ain't coming up on us. They don't even know.
okay.
Something internal that we can.
Yeah, something's
Okay.
internal wrong there.
I know the Boggs Lane's been on there for a long time. For a long time. And I was really concerned about that because I've been out there, and as far as in the development going in out there, I'd say no. Because I've been there when that train has been across the track at least for 2 hours. And you've got hospice, you got a factory, you got other things out there. True, Sherwin-Williams put a road in around there, but it just made it look good on paper. Because at the time that happened, the gate was locked. Sherwin-Williams didn't have a key for it. The hospital didn't have a key for it. EKU didn't have a key for it. So finally, somebody wised up and got some bolt cutters, cut the chain on it. Plus that, it was used for emergency help.
Yeah.
There's no way that a fire truck can get around through there. You're going around a cornfield. So if there's anything that definitely needs to be put in as a road back through there. Because, and it will relieve the city too, as far as those trucks come down and turn off the bypass. But I know that's been on the agenda for a long time.
I would ask the board that if you approve this tonight, that it be contingent on allowing us to update that road priority list, because I know up in Frankfurt right now, I think we got like 30 days left in the session, it's a budget session, and our lobbyist Stephanie is up there, and this is changing on a daily basis. So I would ask that you allow us to change that priority list with what comes out of this budget session, because we'll have a really good idea by mid-April exactly what we're gonna get for the next 2 years, and we can update that document, if that's okay with you.
We've got a lot, that's serious, with people. And even if the fire department have to get back through it and something happened to tracks, they wouldn't,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on that future transportation map, I spec'd out Pavilion Way extending. If you look from the past, it used to turn and try to go up Boggs Lane. I agree with you 100%. We've been down that road 100 times. I've actually identified, I've walked it personally, and stretched that road all the way over to 52 with an unlimited amount of connections wherever you want, whether it be the one in front of the paint factory, whether it be Boggs Lane, whether it ties into Eastern Kentucky. It will have an unlimited amount of connections that are feasible. I've seen it with my own eyes. So I'd suggest, and that's why I put it on that future transportation map, to spec out that road for Pavilion Way to travel all the way to 52 and create an outlet, one, for all the folks at the Pavilion and Golden Leaf, for all of our connectedness for Duncannon and what it's going to be bringing, our interconnectivity to solve a train track problem with first responders. Eastern will have an outlet that will not have to go through the city it would bring a massive
Yeah.
breath, if you will. Who knows when that'll be, but now that road is identified. So as we see development come, we can insinuate on our developers, hey, we have this road spec'd out here, and we need that road, so we don't mind development, but we have to have a certain type of road, which is the continuation of Pavilion. And it creates a suicide lane in the center of it. It's wide enough for that. So you'll have a very effective street traveling all the way through there, much like a bypass, depending on how that shapes up. Now, who knows what that'll look like till we get there one day, but that's the very reason that I extended it all the way to 52.
Well, I think at one time Eastern did give them an easement to come over to Kit Carson, I believe, but whoever was going to develop that,
Colonel's Ridge.
Yeah.
That, they put in their entrance there. It was a glorified construction entrance, and it just went away.
Yeah.
But that's when all that
Yeah, the
started.
developer, he decided not to do anything with it, so Eastern, they gave him so many, I think it's 5 years or something like that to get it developed, but it never went through. Okay, thank you.
Are we to identify the roads that we want?
I think if you'll allow
Priority
us
wise.
to update that list after the session's over.
Okay.
Because they will give us what they approved in priorities.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna fund, and we can actually update that list what we'll have funding for, is kind of the way I.
So you all are going to do it?
Yes.
That's not
Be
for
nice
us?
to see it.
Okay.
And I'll tell you all as well, we have some of our multi-use path folks here tonight. I've sat on that board for a couple of years, and they have been wonderful and very, very meticulous in the steps taken to get that added to our comprehensive plan for new development to include multi-use paths. And I think that's very
Nice.
important for our future. There's a lot of places we like to connect with the city that's already built up. That can be challenging, but I don't think there's anything too challenging for this group. So that is included in our comprehensive plan as an overlay, I think, the multi-use path piece of it. So for future developers that come in and buy a piece of property, if that path goes through that property, they're gonna be required to build it as part of the development. So that's another piece, that's a quality life piece.
Yeah.
Good.
Anything else?
We've talked about that Boggs Lane extension and the Sherman-Williams. I thought Sherman-Williams was actually gonna build a nice road out of there. But, and we also had one developer that wanted to come all the way over, I'm trying to think where he wanted to come over now, behind the hospital even, and build apartments and things.
Yeah, that's the same.
And that didn't work out very well, et cetera, because nobody wants to build the road because it's too expensive to build it, even if you're rebuilding apartments back there. And that's why when somebody brings a project up and wants to get across there in Boggs Lane and wants to put something out there, we're really reluctant because of the fact that, as Eugene and everybody knows, you can't get anybody out of there. Lots of times the traffic's really backed up. So that area, even though there's a lot of land there, is really pretty useless because we haven't got any transportation there. But that is a priority that we've had for a number of years, but nobody really wants to do it. I think the only way it's gonna happen is if the city just kind of goes in with somebody and just, okay, we want a road, we're gonna put it over there, et cetera, like that for future development. And it probably would develop very quickly then.
The problem is you've got a couple landowners back there that are preserving their agricultural history. Heritage. And the other piece of it, it wouldn't be a state highway. So the state was kind enough with the support of Deanna Frazier to get some money appropriated to do some design work. But when you really look at it, we're gonna have to wait for development to happen to build that road because the city can't really foot the bill to build that kind of road. I mean, it's just a lot of money. If it was a state road, we might be able to get funding for it, but the state's probably not gonna fund a road that's not a state highway. So it'll have to probably happen once development occurs out there, and that road, that connectivity will have to happen there.
I think on the other end of it, Pavilion, well, I think there was some land already spec'd out for it, but Kevin, you might know, the way they developing out there, they might have to move it down some to come around because the way they're developing out there. But I think it would be between Sharon Williams and that property there, where, like you say, that private farm, and where you're gonna have the problem at. Okay, Rob, did you say something about making a motion on that for,
If you all approve this tonight, I would ask that the motion include allowing the planning and zoning staff to update the prioritized transportation list when it's finalized after the legislative session in Frankfurt, something to that nature, if that's okay.
okay,
And I'll probably have to do the same thing with the commission next week, so we can have it right.
okay. There's no,
You good with that?
Yes, sir.
there's no more questions? Yes, sir.
Based on staff approval. Very simple motion, and that would allow us to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no more question. Might I get a motion on that?
Anybody got any comments?
Comments for the trails, or anything?
We just appreciate very much the opportunity to be involved in the process. We're very pleased with what's come out.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
Get a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the comprehensive plan as designed with the,
With staff approval.
with staff approval.
Second.
Whatever. Dr.
Either
Booth.
doesn't matter. Well, second it, go for it. Second.
You can.
Commissioner DeGrant,
Yes.
Commissioner Francis, Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Estelle.
Yay!
Yes. I got it that time. Director's report.
Super brief, Deborah has sent out some KLC trainings that have been provided graciously from our council. And, if you would, take a look at those, we're required certain training every year. Let Deborah know, Deborah, feel free. I won't speak for her, she's right here.
Whichever one you decide to go to, whether it's the Lexington, Moorhead, or the virtual ones, just email me which one you want. I will register you, provide them your email. We take care of the funding for it, and you'll just receive an email before the conference.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to go to Lexington?
Have you sent it? Have you sent it out already?
I'll put mine in.
She just.
I emailed a link to all of you this afternoon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just link, just send a link out to. Is that all your report?
Yes, sir.
I have a comment about this ordinance that we did pertaining to short-term rentals. I think it's a good deal. I think it was well done, et cetera. I do. And hopefully now you've got a lot of provisions in there, so it won't be a problem in the future. One thing I don't understand is that you did all this, but if I come in with a house and I want to have 3 other people in it, okay, you've got no provisions for, and that really makes it then another 3. It makes it a multi-family kind of place. And you have really no criteria like fire extinguishers, fire escape, like you had on the short term. You have no thing about parking spaces. You have no inspections in that house. That house could have faulty wiring, it could have a lot of problems. And I'm concerned when we let people take a house like that that's an R1 and make it really in multifamily in R3, even though it might be zoned on that what we're doing is we're looking for some problems, especially if there's no inspections, there's no plan about what to do, et cetera. If there's problems with the tenants, like you did all the stuff with the short-term rentals, that we should do something and tell the police what to do. But you don't have any of that here. And I really think we need to develop a program for people who, if they want to rent their house, that's okay, I guess. Yeah, but, and we've limited it down to actually about 4 people, and that can mean 4 families. If we're going to do that, then we need to have some provisions. We need to have some inspections, we need to have, so that we don't have some fires and other problems in the future. And it also imposes on the R1 people, the regular residential people, to have a facility next to them, okay? That they can't go to somebody about, do something about, et cetera. And we should limit what people can do, okay? So many, just like we did short-term rentals. Not necessarily stop them, but go ahead and limit it, okay? And have some idea where we're at, how many are rented, what we're gonna do if certain things happen, about parking, et cetera, like that. And I think we should develop a long-term rental thing in residential areas that, if they do that, we need some plans about what we're gonna do.
Is above and beyond the PUD that this was,
Can't hear you.
this would be, are you talking about for those properties in general or those properties located in a PUD?
No problems in general.
Okay,
I mean, if you
okay.
have a residential house,
Yes.
and you say, okay, I'm gonna live there, but I'm gonna get 2 other people there, 3 other people, or I'm not gonna live there and I'm just gonna rent it out. That's probably okay if you have all these restrictions that you have here. So they can't jam up the street, they can't cause problems, and the police don't have any idea what's going on. I think you need some, really sit down and think about it and decide an ordinance of how you can handle that. Right now, it's together, and what's happening is you're getting a lot of areas now that are turning into slums because people that have nice houses just leave. They sell, they get out. That's not good. That's not good at all. So I think we ought to have some provisions about, you move next to me and you do that, but you're going to do that so far. You know, you've got some space, like 500 feet. If you do that next to me, I can call the police. I can tell you get your car off the street because it's interfering with me and everybody else.
Okay.
You need to have some provisions for that kind of situation.
What I can tell you that we do now, and in response to your question, it's, the short-term rentals are trackable because they have business components attached to them. And so across the board of many departments, it's hard for them to get away without being found. Now, it does take a little bit of bird dogging, as I call it, but they can be found. When you take a single-family house in an R3 zone that begins to become rented out, and it starts to fill up. The only thing that we have currently, and feasibly, is that if they turn in some type of building permit or electric permit that will indicate, oh, wait a minute, what are you doing here? You're putting another electric box, you're putting 3 water heaters in, you took out the stairwell. That's an indication, a red flag for me and my other fellow departments. So when that happens, we all start talking. And then when it gets back to planning and zoning, we will enforce one of 2 things. The first would be, is it something that is compliant? And if they're in R3, the question, or the answer to that question is yes, they're able to do that. Then to fix the problem, we only have a single 12-foot wide gravel driveway. Well, if they are in turn going to make it a multifamily structure, one, they got to get through the Department of Building Inspection and all the things that they got to have, fire ratings and everything. Also, if they're going to do that, it must be brought up to regulations, which means, in my world, you must provide the parking, it must be on site, it can't be on the road. And so we have hung a great many of them on that hat rack and stopped a lot that most people may not even be aware of. But
They will tell you. The way you can find out right quick is that you've got 2 parking spaces that they can have. And then when you give them temporaries of 2, you can automatically say it's a multifamily home because you've given them 4 spaces.
Well, you're talking about like Oak Street and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
over in there?
There's one house that's got like 12 cars parked in the back,
It's
right
not hard
behind
to
it.
tell.
Not Oak, I'm sorry, it's on Breck. But you've got houses, you've got cars that are all lined up there. Of course, Oak is bad, High Street's bad.
You can
the whole
talk to them
thing.
and they'll tell you.
But yeah, it's amazing how many cars and stuff, and then you see the same ones and they're all
Well-
living in the same house.
I had to deal with this when I was in the field a long, long time ago. I was just the planning and zoning inspector, and I was called to some of these problem areas. And what I noticed is that, and I don't know how many passes are out there. I don't know that. But what I do know is how many places that are acceptable parallel parking stalls. So I think maybe if we identify how many available parallel parking stalls are on the street, then we have our number of passes. You gotta be so far from an intersection. You can't block a storm drain. You can't park in front of the fire hydrant, all of these things, and naturally can't park in front of the driveway. So when you eliminate these linear footage of road, you're left with available spaces. So in those available spaces, you then can calculate how many acceptable standard parallel parking stalls can exist.
Well,
So then you would have your number of passes. So that would eliminate, I guess, Mr. Short, a lot of this overparking on the street if they're indicated. But I think what we got out there now is there's no indication of where you can park. Right now, it's free-for-all. I guess you can kind of park out there. As long as you got one of these passes, you're able to park.
but there's residential parking signs all over. If you got 20 cars parked there and you're residential, you got more people than just a couple living in that, and they're rented out.
Mm.
So that should spot it right there. And then you go to them and you say something to them. But if you have some kind of ordinance going on, then you can prevent this from happening.
Well,
You've got some teeth in
I
it.
tell you, Dr. Miller, to back up a little bit, one really concern we need to be focused on right now is there's legislation in Frankfurt, I think it's Senate Bill 112, and it's getting a lot of money thrown at it by Airbnb. And what it aims to do is allow the state to have local government, it aims to limit the regulation local governments have towards short-term rentals. So basically, if they pass this bill up there, our hands are gonna be tied in what we can do with short-term rentals. And it would open the wild, wild west for short-term rentals. We wouldn't have the authority as a local government, and Chris can help me
Yeah.
with this, to put an ordinance in place like you're talking about, to regulate these short-term rentals. So I would ask you to call your legislator, call Deanna Frazier and Jared Carpenter and whoever those people, and tell them this is not good for local government. It's just not, because if this passes, it's gonna tie our hands what we can do with short-term rentals.
And Rob's absolutely right. And then the flip side of that coin is there's also legislation having to do with expanding local control over sober living homes. So, they're kind of taking away in one area as far as short-term rentals, but then giving us authority in another area as far as having registration and things like that. So, by July, when these laws will go into effect, we should have a better handle on, the areas where we can and cannot regulate. Hopefully Airbnb, that remains an area we have a strong area. And we've got a great working group where once a month, we've got about 15 people in a room from tourism, from the planning department, from building codes, fire marshal, that stay on top of these rental properties, mainly short-term, but yes, these longer-term rentals do come up. And, there are areas under the law to where, we can expand the amount of local control we have, and I'm happy to look at some language as far as ordinance regulations that we can have in place with that, and I'll do research. I can have it probably by tomorrow to share with you all as far as areas where we can and cannot regulate. Because anytime you're looking at, the parking obviously is one area and things like that, but I want to be able to sketch out areas where we can and cannot regulate, not short-term, but long-term rentals. And once we do that, based upon your all's feedback, we can then look at drafting some language as far as areas we may or may not be able to regulate. I know depending on how it's done, some cases have said, having annual inspections for long-term rentals or something you can absolutely do. There's also a case law that says not in a million years can you do that. So there's even some conflict amongst the case law as far as what is and is not allowable. But having said that, I'm the lawyer. I've argued argued worse and one with better. So it's not really an issue one way or the other. I want to do what y'all want to do, but I at least want us to have the rules of the game before we start rolling the dice on that. So by the end of the week, should be by tomorrow, but by Friday at the latest, I can have a 2 or 3 page legal overview as far as what our options are. And then we can kind of look at long-term, what sort of process we want to have in place for long-term rentals, not just short-term rentals.
Thank you.
Sure.
And what you're alluding to is these single-family homes being turned into apartments. So what we got to do is find a way. I sort of have that already, but it's hard to regulate because you can't catch all these folks. I have language in the development ordinance that talks about a change of use, U-S-E, use, not the zone, don't have anything to do with the zone. It's the use of that structure. So when you change the use of a known single-family dwelling into a multifamily dwelling, which may be in an R3, which is okay, but if you change that use, you must meet the current regulations. So if they're discovered, we then can impose the development regulations, which means parking got to be in the rear, you got to leave the facility in a forward motion, all kinds of great things. What I've done with that in the past is when I hit folks with these requirements, they discover really quick that their lot is just not big enough to accommodate that because it was meant for a single-family dwelling, not a multifamily dwelling. It is a bit problematic because the zones are, in most cases, R3s. So they're entitled to a multifamily development, but they fell under this very tiny lot that came to be as a single-family lot. So the zone is almost creating those issues because they can do it. But what we need to do is make them follow the regulations if they're going to change that use. And that's what I have been using in the past, when I'm able to catch them.
Which catching is the whole issue.
That's the $1 million question.
And we got any more? You through, Kevin? That's all. You want to make a motion
I'll
for
make a
adjournment?
motion.
Seconded. Unless Mr. Grant will second.
I'm good.
Commissioner DeGrant,
Yes.
Commissioner Francis, Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins, Commissioner Miles, Commissioner Estelle.
Yes. Thank you all.